discuss PDHPE. Why is PDHPE a valuable subject? As mentioned within the rationale of PDHPE NESA 2021, personal development, health, and physical education helps students gain the knowledge, comprehension, abilities, and attitudes necessary to take appropriate action to safeguard and improve their own health, safety, and well-being, as well as the well-being of others in a variety of varying and shifting contexts. In order for students to participate in a variety of physical activities with confidence, and creativity, physical education is essential for the acquisition of movement, concepts, and skills. Students have the chance to improve and develop their resilience and sense of connectedness while studying PDHPE, as well as learn how to treat others with respect. Students learn how to research, apply, evaluate, and critically analyze health and movement concepts through PDHPE, which helps them maintain and improve their health, safety, well-being, and physical activity participation. A game sense approach. As stated by Richard Light, 2016, the game sense approach strives to develop techniques and understandings by modifying game strategies and concepts where are opportunities to develop skills. This approach encourages simple modifications to accommodate varying abilities, therefore maximizes inclusions and challenges, fosters positive social learning and the development of intellectual dimensions of gameplay while making sport more relevant to the interests and needs of young people, stated by Sports Australia 2014. When using the game sense approach, it is important to connect it to the PHP syllabus. When conducting a lesson, students add to show outcomes of the syllabus. One outcome for the game sense approach that can be used, as stated by NESA 2018, students demonstrate an understanding of movement, skills, concepts, and strategies to respond confidently, competently, and creatively in a variety of physical contexts in all stages. And lastly, stated by NESA 2018, develop interpersonal skills that enable them to interact effectively, respectfully with others, build and maintain respectful relationships, and advocate for their own and others' health, safety, well-being, and participate in physical activity. These syllabus outcomes allow for PDHP skills of self-management skills, interpersonal skills, and movement skills. How have I developed professionally in these tutorials? Tutorial 3 was based upon scope and sequence, unit of work, and lesson plans. These areas of study form the basis of a good PDHPE lesson. Scope and sequence is planned by using the stage of children participate not in the time in which the lesson will be taught, and the curriculum will be based around to achieve the success criteria. Developing a scope and sequence, you must first identify your desired results and the student's learning needs. This is done by using the syllabus outcomes and stage statements to be able to form a lesson that will have students participate effectively. Next is determining acceptable evidence of learning. This is done by a teacher being able to assess students through assessment of formative and summative assessment. This can be also achieved by planning tasks to allow students to show evidence of understanding of skills and creating criteria and rubrics assess the quality of learning. Lastly, creating a learning plan. This includes identifying specific learning intentions and goals and a sequence of meaningful learning experiences to allow all students to meet the same goal. Unit of work includes that will be taught within the lesson. The class it will be taught to, as this is important as it contains areas of time to teach the unit of work. For example, a week or 2 lesson, and what time it will be taught. Lesson plans allow for teachers to appropriately prepare for lessons for kids that outline of what year the students will be in and the time taught. I've developed professionally throughout the aspects of learning scope and sequence, unit of work, and lesson plans in the week 3 through understanding what is required for teaching a PDHPE. Before this week, I had no real connection to the subject and thought that teaching was based upon the curriculum. Now I have learnt that using the curriculum environment, students' abilities is the best way to ensure student understanding and engagement in lessons and meeting learning of the content being met. Professionally, I understand that in theory, I will need to constantly evaluate and reflect to put this into practice and see if I am able to incorporate these 3 elements within my teaching to further my students' learning. Tutorial 4. This was based around the game sense pedagogy, designing the learning environment and providing opportunities for collaborative formulation of ideas. The nature of the game sense approach has taught me that it has encouraged students' interaction and fundamental concepts of manipulation of time and space, meaning that teacher must encourage students to play and learn and doing PDHPE through creativity, cooperation, whilst managing time and space during the lesson. Students' knowledge whilst participating is valued and collected by both teacher and students, allowing for further knowledge to form. Learning environment is very important when doing PDHPE. You would not play basketball on a field. To be able to set your students up for success, you need to have the right environment for the activity. The teacher must monitor the students' learning to be able to adjust to the level of challenges and ability for groups and individuals. Challenges may arise when a task is too easy. This can be altered by adding an extra movement or letting students reflect as a group to add an extra element. PDHPE outside teacher must test their ideas to be able to formulate strategies to teach students and feed intellectual curiosity, inquiry, and desires them to learn. There is also important to have an aspect of social learning and interaction within a lesson to build friendships and communication as part of the curriculum. Tutorial Prac 1 and Prac 2. Tutorial 5 and 6 was a practical lesson learning AFL skills. This lesson began as a written and theory element, teaching us the importance of the curriculum behind teaching AFL to students in schools, showing us a holistic teaching and learning program. This enables the lesson to have factors of who, what staff member, what is the curriculum that reflects the content, how will this lesson be delivered, why are the students learning in this way, and lastly, location. Lessons for practical involvement in PDHPE. Curriculum draws on its multidisciplinary evidence base to ensure that students are provided with learning opportunities to practice, create, apply, and evaluate the knowledge, understanding, and building of skills. It is recommended to have a lesson of an hour of 50 minutes theory and 10 minutes guided play for pedagogical approach. How to teach was also taught to us. As teachers, we demonstrate practice, allow students to achieve success, provide feedback, direct instructions, understand your students, and lastly, structure the lesson for maximum engagement. When going onto the field, we were first shown and participated in AFL skills, setting us up for success. This included holding the ball, doing drills, kicking, catching, and lastly, throwing. This enables skills to be learnt, not just AFL, but how to teach a lesson based on structure, language, positioning of cones, and where to stand, depending on where the sun position is. The second practical lesson took place. We were instructed to teach a lesson based off games. Professionally, I learnt that simple instructions are very important, as students can get overwhelmed quickly if there are too many things to remember. Start with 1 to 2 rules, and less equipment is more. By being able to experience all games, frozen feet, let's bounce, large marks, gates, and collect the coins, we got to participate in others' group games and see their teaching techniques used after each game. We were explained and played each group, then received feedback from the AFL staff members. This was provided to us with strong teaching techniques. My group's game was Mad Marks. This was a game based off marking the AFL ball. This included having a group of 5 with 5 group members being the leaders and demonstrators. We first started off with a low mark, which included elbows and high hands. We moved on to the shoulder marks and lastly onto high marks, incorporating a jump to get the ball. Each activity within the game was demonstrated before starting this and to ensure all students understood the activity before beginning. After the game, we did a what did you learn question presented to the students to see if they had actually learned any techniques from the AFL they had been taught for marking. Feedback received was great work in demonstrating each activity for the games. We also received great job in asking what was learnt. But we should think about next time, what do students do when they finish before the other 5 groups? Professionally, I've learnt that there is more to playing a sport in PDHPE. You have to consider positioning of students and when the activities are being played and why, based off curriculum. There are a lot that goes into planning a lesson for students and for each student to be able to participate to the best of their ability, which sometimes is influenced by the teacher. Reflection. The unit of PDHPE, I have learnt the concepts of the game sense approach. This will be allowing my teaching to further my abilities and teach students more efficiently based off needs. I have learnt the theory enables students to grow based on one's self-esteem, health socially and physically, and that physical education outside encourages theory aspects through using the body and students' skill of the curriculum to be taught. The learning activities related to the subject content being taught through showing us how to conduct a lesson based off curriculum, students, environment, and equipment. We are shown how to have a good lesson should look with incorporating content used, time management, and what order a lesson should run. On the field outside, we are taught to do a warm-up exercise to warm the children's muscles before starting. Next, to move on to the content, this can be done as we were shown by having multiple areas of activities or having just one activity. This is important to emphasize the skills needing to be used for students to meet the assessment criteria. Demonstrations were also encouraged to show students how to correctly complete the activity in a safe manner. This also allows students to understand the activity rather than being confused or unwilling to participate. This is all connected to the game sense approach theory, as this is important to be able to use and incorporate learning needs. I also incorporate proximal development theory of learning and development, defined as the space between what a learner can do without assistance and what the learner can do with the guidance of an adult, and with more capabilities per peers. This theory connects with the game sense approach as it is based off knowing what a student can achieve and then being able to change or alter the activity for learning. By incorporating these learnings into my teaching practice, I will be able to allow students to achieve success and incorporate assessment goals for students to achieve. I have learned that it is important for students to have the correct lesson based off students' needs and abilities to encourage students to participate and reach goals. Through being taught this unit, I have grown through the subject of PDHPE, as I have never been taught anything other than primary school about this subject. I'll be able to incorporate all my teachings from this unit into my school experiences with students correctly by using content in the syllabus through scope and sequence. I am yet to put this into practice to be able to know if I have grown professionally, but through reflection, perseverance, and feedback, I'll be able to work on my teaching abilities.